Coach Reed was sick, so he said he wanted me to give the boys a pep talk. Patrick, you young and you hungry. You see Richard Sherman, he got a ring. He know what it feel like. You don't know what that feels like yet, but you want that feeling. So you're going to go out there, you're going to start spazzing. Come on, Patrick, let's get it. Travis, you was the loudest after the game last week, yet when I was watching your highlights, I almost fell asleep. Travis, you need to put in this work. If George Kittle dogs you, then you ain't getting no contract extension. Come on, Travis, get this work. Tyreek, I don't even like you. But take that 5-yard slant pass to the crib. Boom, 70 yards. Sherman can't guard you the whole game. We all know that if Jimmy G playing from behind, he gonna get nervous. He start wilding. Oh, interception, interception. Oh, what's my middle name? All we gotta do is play from ahead. This is your Super Bowl preview and prediction. Let's talk about the big game and, most importantly, what both teams need to do to win it. Ladies and gentlemen, no one does it better. Don't go away. It's time to talk about the biggest game of the year, and that is the Super Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. And before I begin, I want to say thank you to everyone that has joined me on this wild roller coaster of a ride of an NFL season. We made a total of, I want to say, 30 to 40 videos strictly NFL related, and we had an intro for every single one. Not so much all of the preview and predictions, but the weekly reviews. I did the best that I could, and I hope that all of you can appreciate that. This is the big game. It is the Kansas City explosive offense and the best defense in football, the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl LIV. So let's preview Super Bowl LIV. I'm going to make my prediction as to who I think will win the Super Bowl as well. And let's get right to it. This Super Bowl, to me, is a lot harder to predict than previous years. I feel like there's always some kind of edge you can kind of give. But this one is unpredictable because there's a lot of different ways that it could go. The first way it could go is it could be a Denver Bronco, Carolina Panther-like Super Bowl, which I don't see happening. It could be a Seattle Seahawks Denver Broncos Super Bowl, which I certainly don't see happening. But it realistically, the 49ers have the offense that's strong enough to score points like that. And they have the defense that's strong enough to shut down a good offense. But I don't see it happening. I think Mahomes is destined, and this could really be his moment. Now, before I get to who I think I'm going to win, I'm going to tell you how each team can win. So Kansas City, we'll start off with the Kansas City Chiefs. For Kansas City to win, to me, they have to score like they've been scoring. The only difference, I know that sounds really basic, right? The only difference is that I'm banking on Kansas City not really having a run game. They haven't really had much of a big run game throughout this playoff run. Damian Williams is their running back, but I'm not banking on a big run game from Kansas City, especially because that San Francisco line is huge at run stopping. I would have really liked to have seen my Titans make the Super Bowl and see how Derrick Henry would fare against this San Francisco 49ers line. But the first thing is going to be for the Kansas City Chiefs to give Patrick Mahomes time. Because if the 49ers pass rush is nailing him at the start of this game, it's going to be a very long game for the Kansas City Chiefs. But one of the things that is to the advantage of the Chiefs is that despite a pass rush, Patrick Mahomes is so mobile, and he's not just a fast mover. He's mobile, and he could make throws, and the Kansas City wide receivers are so explosive that all it takes is 1 second for any of them to find a seam and get open, and they are very, very fast. That is why it is very crucial for San Francisco to stay on top of the defensive side of things, but we're talking about Kansas City right now. So it's going to be to give Mahomes time, or as much time as you can. That is one of the ways that Kansas City will find success in this game. If their line can play well and someone could attempt to neutralize Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Armstead, all those guys, which I don't necessarily think is going to happen. Mahomes succeeds well when under pressure, and that's kind of where I'm giving Kansas City an advantage, because Lamar Jackson, when the Titans don't have the best pass rush either, but when their pass rush was putting Lamar Jackson under pressure, it was a long night for Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes is built, to me, for those moments, and he's gifted with 2 great wide receivers and a very good tight end to help him succeed in those moments. So I think, again, that's the first thing. The second thing is Tyreek Hill is going to be a big factor in this game. He needs to be. Now, we're assuming that Richard Sherman is going to play coverage on Tyreek Hill, and that's a very interesting matchup because Richard Sherman is one of the best corners in the league, But also, Tyreek Hill is so fast. He's probably the fastest player in football. He's so explosive where he can take Sherman could be lined up for deep, and Tyreek Hill could take a quick slant pass, and one missed read can Tyreek Hill has the speed to take it 70, 75 yards for a touchdown. Hardman has the same ability. You know, Sammy Watkins might not have the speed that Tyreek Hill has, but we saw him go off in that championship game against the Titans. So that is another thing. We're going to have to see explosive plays from the Kansas City wide receivers, and I think that we will see those. The problem is that we don't need quantity. I don't necessarily think it's going to be quantity for Kansas City because I don't see them scoring 35. A lot of people are saying this is going to be a 38-35 game. I don't see that because the defense is so good. And a lot of people have not watched the San Francisco 49ers team. And the Super Bowl is everybody's watching, and you might actually learn something because you are in for a shock to see how good this defense is. This is, like I said, probably one of the most intriguing Super Bowl matchups I think we've had, at least in my opinion, in recent years. So I think that's key. They don't have to produce quantity, but quality. Even if Tyreek Hill has 3 receptions, if he has 100 yards in the game, we know that he had an impact. So that is going to be the key from that. Another thing that will be key for Kansas City is shutting down the San Francisco run. Now, it is very easy to game plan for one running back. Again, Derrick Henry's not just a running back. But as you can see, they didn't shut him down, but they neutralized his effect on the game, and it forced Tannehill to pass and be in an uncomfortable situation. If Kansas City does those things and they could neutralize the San Francisco run, they are going to win this game. It's not that I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is talented enough, but if Kansas City, this is another thing, my final pointer for Kansas City, if Kansas City comes out and they are up 21-zip or 17-zip at the end of the first, you always are going to play the game, but I think that that's it. Because the 49ers then are going to be forced to play from behind. And what playing from behind means is that they are now going to be forced into a quick scoring situation. You're not going to see too much San Francisco run game. You're going to see Jimmy G being put into the spotlight. First off, it's a Super Bowl stage. He's never been there. He's been there as a backup, so he does have some of the visual experience. And last week, he only had 6 for 8. 6 for 8. He was 6 for 8 passing. So Jimmy G's not coming off the hottest passing performance, but he didn't have to. And that's one of the things where I supported Tannehill. He didn't have to do that because, to me, Mostert was such a beast in the championship game that they literally ran the whole game. They did something what Tennessee did, but even more. Like even Tannehill, when we had those first 2 games and we were abusing Derrick Henry because it was working, San Francisco did the same thing, but 10 times more. Jimmy G had, I believe, 2 passes in the second half. So again, that's something that's important. If Kansas City gets ahead and they strike quick, then that is their key to win. So they need the offensive line to give Mahomes some kind of time in this game, the best that they can. They need their wide receivers to make quality plays. Again, it doesn't have to be quantity, but quality. And they're going to have to shut down on defense the San Francisco run. If they do all 3 of those things, which I think that, honestly, they're going to do, Kansas City will have its first Super Bowl championship. So what does San Francisco have to do? What does San Francisco have to do to win this Super Bowl? The first thing is we're going to have to see more passing from Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the run game will be there, but I don't think it'll be anywhere near as dominant as it was against Green Bay. I think Green Bay was just completely blitzed, and they had no idea what the hell was coming. And that is why they got annihilated in the championship game. They're going to have to utilize the run, but they're going to have to mix. We're going to have to see Deebo Samuel. We're going to have to see other guys, and we're definitely going to need a very big game, the 49ers I'm speaking of, from George Kittle, because George Kittle was not too big of a factor in the playoffs, and I think that George Kittle is due for this. So the 49ers are going to have to really find George Kittle in this game. That is kind of where I'm going with that. If the 49ers, they don't need bombs, they don't need big plays, but if the 49ers can find George Kittle, they can utilize their run, but they're going to have to separate their running backs, and Jimmy G does not make mistakes. That is crucial. Absolutely crucial. Jimmy G has to be not necessarily perfect, but they have to keep Kansas City off of the field. He can't afford 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl. So for me, if the run game, they have to use dual. You're not gonna be able to use monster the whole game. If you use all 3 of your running backs, you kind of give George Kittle some room. You got George Kittle be an impact, and you only throw those deep balls and those passing routes when they don't expect it. So whether that's 1st and 10, whatever it is, you have to catch the Kansas City defense off guard, because again, their defense is nowhere near as good as San Francisco's, but they have players on their defense, their secondary, that can make a play. Tyrann Mathieu is more than capable of getting 2 interceptions in a game, if not 1. Or 1 if not 2. I said that the wrong way. Now let's go to the other side of the ball. Another key to win this game will be make Mahomes run for his life as much as you can. Never before in a game is a pass rush going to be more important than San Francisco in this game. Forget the secondary, forget all that. We'll get to that in a minute. The pass rush for San Francisco is so crucial in this game. If you don't sack them every play, you don't sack them. But their defense is what's going to come down to if they win this game or not. And that's how it is for most teams, but especially San Francisco. If they can force Patrick Mahomes into uncomfortable, if they can sack him, even better. I'm not telling them to blitz every play, but the San Francisco defense is going to have to be in his face all night. Because even if you're in his face, it's still uncomfortable. The Titans were not able to really do that. So Mahomes was given time, and the receivers, our secondary, did not cover very well, and that is that. So if San Francisco can annihilate Patrick Mahomes, that is one of the few ways they can win this game. So they need to utilize the run in George Kittle. They need to literally make Patrick Mahomes run for his life and sack him if you can. And they're more than capable of doing that. And last but not least, for the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl, Richard Sherman has to step up when it matters. We know how good of a corner he is, but their secondary is going to have to be lights out. And the problem is that Richard Sherman can't cover the whole field, and that the complete secondary on the 49ers is not that strong. It is strong, but it's not completely strong, where I feel like the Titans have a better overall secondary. I'm nervous because Richard Sherman, if they gas him too quick, Tyreek Hill is so fast and he's going to be hard to chase. So I think that the secondary is going to be one of the deciding factors in the Super Bowl. So what is my prediction? I think that when it's all said and done, this is going to be a very good Super Bowl, and it's going to be close. But I think that when it's all said and done, Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this Super Bowl. I think that their line is going to, I think that one of the problems for them is going to be Patrick Mahomes getting the time that he needs. But I think that Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins will more than find their way to get open over the secondary of the 49ers. I think that, Mahomes is going to find a way to make some great plays. And I think that the Chiefs' defense will find a way to shut down this 3-headed monster of a run. And I also think they're going to put Jimmy G in an uncomfortable position, and he likes to make mistakes. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chiefs score some points on defense. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I am not sleeping on the 49ers, but I'm just telling you that they have more tools to win than the 49ers do. Both good coaches, Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid, are both fantastic coaches. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my Super Bowl preview and prediction. I hope you enjoy the game on Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs are taking it home.